Good day, everyone. I would like to say hello and happy fall to our entire audience, our friends, our clients, our fans, who the outpour of support over the summer was absolutely unbelievable to watch. Summer. Well, we had a lot of great episodes.
Almost getting tanned as me, my man.
Well, it helps to go to Greece for a couple weeks to work on that tan, but we're back in business now. We hope that absolutely everyone has had a chance to settle in after getting the kids back to school, getting back to work after all the vacations. So we certainly have, and we're back at it. And today we kind of wanted to really touch on some pretty important stuff going on in the marketplace.
Well, I think this insight was a no-brainer that we had to shoot. And the 15 years that you and I have been doing this, in the past when the government has intervened, what's the right word I'm looking for? We've been a little...
Things didn't go so well.
Yeah, we're a little concerned because it hasn't really panned out every time they've intervened. Fair housing plan had some good points to it, but we've seen what's happened with rental, with rents. It's actually made it a little bit worse. But this one, I'm personally very excited about it. I know you are as well, because it's to help first-time home buyers get into the marketplace.
That's correct. So basically, this is the government's response to reignite the market. So back in 2017, the Canadian housing market was on fire, meaning going up a little bit too fast for everybody's comfort level. The banks got really spooked because it had all the makings of what leads to a collapse.
And so did we, right? We were a little concerned, like when it went up 17.1%.
It's not normal.
Yeah, that's normal. That's not normal.
It's not normal.
Yeah.
So this was the government's response. Now the government achieved what they wanted, which was to really cool the market. So it's not like the market fell.
Yeah.
They made it fall.
Yeah.
They were concerned. They brought it down. And this is now the government's response to start getting people back into the market. The Ontario Fair Housing Plan, by putting all the buyers and then of course the mortgage regulations that they tightened so much, where they made people qualify at almost double the ongoing rates, it put a lot of buyers on the sidelines.
And then we also saw what happened. There wasn't as much supply.
Of course.
And what's going to happen when there's still... Like at that time, back in 17 and early 18, there was still a very high demand of people wanting to get into the Greater Toronto area with no supply. It's just basic supply and demand issues.
Right.
But this incentive for first-time home buyers now...
So this incentive is meant to help.
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe it will help.
I think so
a
too,
lot
man.
of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people scrutinized and said, because of the requirements, and we're going to get into the details of it today. That's what this is all about. Mm-hmm. It's not going to help so much Toronto and Vancouver, and that's kind of like 40% of the population of the country.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's 40% of the population of the country. It's not 100%. So the other 60% is going to see a massive lift and help.
And when they say like Toronto and Vancouver, and let's stick with Toronto for example, because that's home to us, and that's our market. Not everything's $1 million in Toronto.
That's correct.
There's areas within like Toronto proper, condos that you can still purchase for $500,000.
That's right.
Even less. Like there's, something right by the subway, right by Yorkville, central in the Greater Toronto area that you can purchase for $450,000, $460,000.
Now, it might not be 1,000 square feet.
Well,
it's going to be the 400 and 450 square foot range. But welcome to the city.
Boo-hoo. You can't get the big 3,000 square foot home that you dreamt of or your parents had. That's not. We're in a big city now, and so you have to drive till you qualify. This incentive is going to help. Let's jump right into this incentive.
Let's jump right into the incentive. So it is the first-time home buyers incentive. The biggest confusion that we're going to actually resolve today is surrounding the qualifying, meaning who qualifies, who is a first-time home buyer.
Yeah, the $1 million question. Who is a first-time home buyer, right?
So if you think it's as simple as the guy who's never bought a house before, you're wrong.
Yeah. Well, look, when I originally read it, man, I thought, well, I know what a first-time home buyer is because there's other rebates that come into play as a first-time home buyer, but they made this very specific to this incentive.
That's right. And the reason why we think it's actually going to help more people is because the government, in my opinion, took their time and actually rolled out a half-decent program. So let's get into the skinny of it.
So who's a first-time home buyer, Simeon?
So a first-time home buyer...
For this incentive.
As defined, and for qualification for this specific incentive is legitimately a first-time home buyer. So any person who's never bought a home before. B, very important, any spouse that is going through marital issues. So if you're in the middle of a divorce and you need housing, you automatically become a first-time home buyer, whether
is-
you've owned a home before or not.
Which is totally different from other qualifications.
That is
so that's
correct.
Fantastic.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that when you go down the process, you're going to need to have a notarized statement saying that I'm going through marital strife,
You get that from
or
a
I'm
lawyer.
divorced, or I'm separated, whatever the case may be, and you're going to qualify as a first-time home purchaser. So for the person who has been in a relationship for 20 years or 5 years or 10 years, that their income, like their life circumstances have changed and they need to get into a house, they don't have to go rent or go back to their parents' basement. They can buy a house and they can participate in this government joint venture, because that's what we want to call it from now on, I think.
Yeah.
And
I like
qualify
that, actually.
for a
It is,
home.
it is a joint
It is
venture
a
with
joint
the
venture.
government, right?
They're participating in your up.
Yeah. And we're going to explain what that means.
Yeah.
So
So that's the number two. So first, we have the first-time home buyer. Second, the person going through marital issues and strife. And third, whether you're single or married. 15 years ago, you bought your first home. 10 years ago, you had to sell it because you moved to Texas. Doesn't matter. But if you haven't owned a home in more than 4 years, you once again qualify for the first-time home buyer's incentive. And this matter is huge. There is thousands of people in that situation.
for sure.
Thousands.
We
that
come
bought a
across them
home,
all the time.
Had to sell, moving back, doing whatever they got to do in life.
So now I want to speak about income requirements and household income, because that's very important, right? Household income. And so if you're making more than $120,000 household income, you do not qualify. So it's for anyone who has household income of less than $120,000 every single year.
And that's on your notice of assessment. That's not your gross or top line.
Yeah.
So if your household net income is
Line 150.
line 150 is
Yep.
120 or less, you do qualify. If it's
Yep.
120 or more,
Yep.
you do not qualify.
So now let's speak about the actual why we're calling it the joint venture.
Sure.
So this applies to resale properties, new construction, and what was really exciting, I know more for you because you deal with a lot of multiplexes, so to speak, any residential property up to 4 units. So if it has 5 units and more, guys, it doesn't qualify. That's
because it's not residential property.
It's not residential property, makes it really easy. So 1 to 4 doors in a building, it will qualify. So guys, a first-time home buyer, not only can you take advantage of this incentive, you can become an investor at the same time. Like, that's kind of cool.
Investor.
An owner investor. You're going to live in one unit
Yeah.
and rent out the others. You used to do that back when you came to Canada.
I think actually every single person that's involved in our company has done that
At one point or
another.
another. I mean, it's a great way to build equity, right? And so you can automatically become an investor. Now, the government, right? And we'll kind of go back and forth here, Simeon. The government, if they're going to essentially on a resale property, okay, they're going to put up to 5% of the down payment.
That's right.
Okay, and if it's a new construction, which is cool, right? Because now you can get into a property that's going to be built out 2-3 years from now. If you don't have your full down payment,
And we're
right
huge
now,
proponents of that type of buying.
Obviously, we do 250 to 300 pre-construction units a year. That they're going to put up to 10% for a new construction.
So and it's interesting. So let's hit two birds with one stone. The reason the government is giving up to 10% on new construction is because they're trying to promote new housing supply.
Sure.
So if you participate and you buy, instead of buying resale, you're buying a new construction, whether it's a new condo or a new townhouse or a new house in Barrie. You're now, supporting and promoting more development and build out.
Right.
The truth of the matter is, in the GTA specifically, it is not a housing shortage; it's a housing crisis. We do need more housing. We need builders to build.
I've been calling it an epidemic. Is that like this is a big problem, right? Like
you can call it that because it has been ongoing for so long and it's only worsening. So you want to call it an epidemic, you certainly can. The good news is that just to that point is that our mayor, John Tory, our province, the Doug Ford government. I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of policies both of them have implemented, but I am a huge fan of stuff they have gotten done. They have cut a lot of the red tape, and at this point, we have. If you check again, I'm a commercial broker by trade, so I look into these things. Is the city of Toronto has had an onslaught of new applications for purpose-built rental because Doug Ford took away that 1.8% or the rent control. So you have now corporations and developers going back into the rental business, which is going to eventually taper off the madness that we've been seeing in rental. So again, 10% in this incentive. I know we go off tangents so easily.
We don't see each other often.
It's just so much to discuss. That's the problem.
It's
and,
just the
and this
truth.
just brings it all out. So they are promoting new housing. You as a buyer can now get up to 10%. 10%. New housing typically requires 20% down.
Yep.
Half the money can now come from the government.
Now, as a joint venture partner, because we do other joint venture deals, the government is wanting to make some money out of this as well. And I think that's fair. Right? Like, there's been a lot of noise around, oh my God, like they're trying to make money. Well, look, guys, they're going to help with the down payment, okay? They deserve something back. And so let's talk about how the government gets paid back now.
Well, just to that point, the government can make money, but the government can lose money.
For sure they can.
So they are a true JV partner.
Yep.
So they are coming in with up to 10% on new housing, 5% on resale. But it is a loan that has to be repaid. It is registered as a mortgage on the property.
Yep.
So it's not like they're on the ownership. It is a registered on title instrument. So
just like your bank has
on closing,
their mortgage on title, right?
On closing, you're going to pay the extra few $100s to the lawyer to register that mortgage too. So it's not maybe ifs, ands, or buts. It will have to be repaid in 25 years or earlier, or upon the sale of the home. Whatever comes first.
Yep, and they're
going
going
to keep it forever. Great. In 25 years, they're going to be forced to get an appraisal and pay them out.
Now, if a first-time home buyer takes advantage of the incentive, and in 5 years they're going to sell the home, and there was upside, meaning you bought it for $500,000. 5 years from now, let's just for argument's sake call it $550,000.
Sure.
That $50,000 spread and delta that was made, that's where the government's going to come in and take some of that upside.
Either they're 5 or 10%.
Either they're 5 or 10%. So that's how logistically they get it back. And so I think that's important because I want to explain that.
And in turn, if you lose money, so you bought it at 500, you bought in Cambridge or in Woodstock, the Toyota plant closed, all the jobs fizzled, and your house is worth 400. You lost 100K. Well, that money that you borrowed, that 40K, is going to go down by 5 or 10% respectively.
Now, you made a good point off air that at the end of it, it all kind of boils down, and somebody who's watching or listening right now is thinking, okay, great, I have an incentive, a new incentive for me to get into the market. What does this really mean to me in dollars? Like, how much am I actually saving, or how much is it helping me?
Again, the government did this for many reasons.
Yeah.
They actually committed $1.25 billion to this incentive. It's not a joke. That's $1,125 million that people can tap into. It's 1.25 Bs, so people should tap into it. If you've been sitting on the sidelines thinking of buying a home, this is going to help you. When somebody puts up to 10% down, your principal and interest payment may go down. Again, there's some limitations that we didn't touch up on. So the max mortgage you can get is 4 times, excuse me.
I'm glad that you brought that up. It's more go.
It's huge, So remember we talked about you can only make 120 or less. On the same token, the debt service ratio has to be 25%. Meaning that your mortgage, your housing, your actual mortgage, not the purchase price. But the mortgage amount can be up to 4 times your household income.
So if you make let's just work around numbers, right? You make $100,000. The max mortgage amount that you can have, times that by 4 is $400,000.
Period.
Very easy.
Not a second mortgage. Now, and why I said the mortgage and not the purchase price. Because if my parents want to give me $100,000. As a gift. That has nothing to do with qualifying because it's on my household income, and it's none of the government's business if I get a gift. So it doesn't disqualify me.
No.
So I can add another $100,000 to the purchase price. But just remember, the government is your partner.
So now you can go to like a $500,000 actual purchase price, which opens up a lot of available.
No, but the government's going to win too with you.
For sure they are.
So just remember that. Right?
For sure
so
they are.
It is a little bit complex. But I think we've touched up on the whole thing. But going back to affordability, if you're only making 120 or less, which is not a little bit of money, it's not a lot of money in Toronto, because life is expensive. But I can tell you, it's a truckload of money in St. John's. Because life is much cheaper there, and that's fact. So, with that being said, a 10% lift, a 10% break in price is going to increase your monthly. You're going to save $200 to $450 a month. $200 to $450 per month.
Now,
in principal and interest payments.
Now somebody might say, "Well, it's $200 a month. It doesn't sound like a lot, guys." Even if you $250, $300, whatever it is, that's like maintenance fees.
To many people, it's a lot of money.
It is.
So again, this is not meant to help the guy making $250,000 a year.
That's not what this incentive is for.
Correct. This is to help people that wouldn't be able to get in otherwise, that are paying rent and flushing money down the toilet every month. So $200 to $450 a month, we know, because we speak to thousands of people, is a lot of money to a lot of people.
Yep.
Would it break my bank personally?
Right.
The answer is no.
Yep.
I've been a real estate investor for a long time.
Yep.
These types of amounts are negligible to me, and I'm not saying that from a position sitting up here.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. So when I make investments, etc., that kind of differential doesn't hurt me or gain me.
Well, look,
but to somebody who's never been in, they're 23 years old, and they have to borrow to get in, to get started, just like I did.
Yeah.
I was a bartender. I was working in kitchens.
Yeah.
My story didn't start with silver spoons or many properties.
For sure.
We had to live in basements.
How many times are we at parties or even here in the office, and a parent comes in and says, man, this is going to be so tough for my kid who's 23 or 27, even that age group of 29, 30, and how are they going to get into the market? Kudos to the government this time for at least putting something on the table. It's, I think, probably too early to say how this is going to all pan out, but it just came out this week. But it's something to start to move the needle towards home ownership for the younger generation.
And I love that statement, because I do think this is going to move the needle. I do think a lot of Canadians are going to benefit.
Yeah,
I think the one that realtors such as ourselves wanted to see was the lift of those restrictions on the mortgages.
Sure.
Just so we can get that action going again.
Yeah.
That's more of in my opinion, selfish to the industry.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Because so I'll tell you, because I can speak for you too, we're actually fans of the stress test.
100%.
It protects all of us, and it gives us that layer of people that are not going to get destroyed and hurt if something were to go south.
It's why on a macro level, it's why the rest of the world always looked at Canada and the Canadian banking system and said, holy crap, how did you guys do it?
Yes.
The world looked at us.
There's
and said, wow, because we're so conservative.
There are things where being this conservative does help. It did save our asses, for lack of a better word, on 2 occasions in the last decade. And I think the stress test, they can ease up on it a bit, because you're actually leaving people on the sidelines.
Yeah, maybe a little
bit.
Loosening of it.
Loosen it up a bit.
Don't get rid of it.
But don't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Don't get rid of it.
Perfect, buddy. To you first-time homebuyers and to parents of wanting to get rid of your kids and kick them out of your house and finding ways to do it, get in touch with us. Get in touch with your mortgage brokers. Get in touch with your lenders.
It does go through. So it doesn't go through your realtor.
Yep.
It does go through your lender.
Yep.
So if you have further questions, I think we went in pretty detail today. If you have further questions, just look out for more content coming up in the coming weeks. We're going to be going through a lot of it. Please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The REC Experience. You can find us on social.
It's a red button. Just press it.
Just press it.
Makes our moms happy.
It makes my mom very, very happy. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook if that's where you live. But we always appreciate the support. We always appreciate your feedback. We're here to answer any questions you may have. Everybody, enjoy the fall kickoff, and we hope you have a great time.